This is called early years. These are large texts for the visitors by which to review his life, his thoughts, his quotations as he's developing as an artist. Early years spent at the University of Michigan. Some examples of his early work included here. We talked about Bruno Andrade and his enrollment at the University of Michigan Graduate Art School, where he received this great academic training and was inspired by a number of influences through his teachers. He had an epiphany of sorts, and his mind, his heart were awakened. This is one of his first or early pieces that we see, features the Zapotec funerary urn and an Aztec eagle emerging from the back. This shows us the first level, that is a bridge between the most ancient civilization and the newcomer, so to speak, the Aztecs, who built one of the biggest tribute empires in the Americas, the second one, the Incas. On a second level, the eagle represents the discovery or the founding of Tenochtitlan, the capital of the Aztec Empire. The gods had led the Aztecs to this particular lake, and there was only room for the Aztecs at a swampy location, and they were told by their gods to build their new home where they would see an eagle perched on a cactus devouring a snake. The third level is represented by the icon of the United Farm Workers. They're very distinct icon or brand or trademark that we associate with the United Farm Workers or the UFW. Bruno Andrade did not really produce that many more of these kind of works that are very strongly identified with what we would call Chicano iconography. He believed in Chicano art. He called himself a Chicano artist. So this is a rare exception where he's doing something a little bit different. He gifted this to me because we were friends, and after all these years managed to store it, and I was fortunate enough to be able to loan it to the museum to be on display. Now, let's talk about Gestalt philosophy or psychology. As mentioned, at the University of Michigan, he studied with Dr. Rudolf Arnheim, an expert in Gestalt psychology or philosophy. Gestalt teaches a number of things, and we'll go through these particular ideas or concepts or rules or laws later on. One of the two things that Gestalt emphasizes, patterns. You have patterns here, and you have the grid. The grid is one of the most important configurations in art. We see the grid being used by Renaissance artists by which they organize their paintings. Now here you've got examples of where he's transitioning. These are abstract paintings that we can see here. This is very, very important for Bruno Andrade to discover that color, coming from light of course, will define your form, your line, and your edge. Here he's experimenting with a different format. He's looking for a different way by which to express himself other than through the square or the rectangular canvas. And you've got, again, geometric patterns. So we have, again, the idea of patterns. We've got this serpentine line that undulates top to bottom, and it represents movement. We also have what's called the sawtooth or the zigzag. Right here, right there, and right here. This also indicates movement, and it can represent the waves, can represent a snake, and a lightning bolt, and as well as other things. This kind of pattern of the zigzag or the sawtooth found in ceramics and architecture, tapestry, and other type of artistic expressions. We have more examples of his early work. This is in 1976. He's still working with abstract expressionism, very stark black against white, positive and negative space. More of the same of these type of abstract approaches to his art. Now he's experimenting with something different entirely here, the oval shape. And we'll be looking at this and returning to this particular form as we go through the exhibition.